What's going on, guys? I can't believe that we are talking about the Van Gogh Pikachu again. This topic may have already surfaced amongst other content creators, but I don't really care. I think it still pertains to what's going on in the market today. But the Pikachu with gray felt hat, okay, this card was a collaboration with the Van Gogh Museum and Pokemon, and arguably one of the most iconic collabs and promos of all time in Pokemon's history. So a lot of people know about this card. We have milked this card for content. We have made so much content about this card as a community, and it just keeps getting worse. It just keeps popping up. This card, even though there are probably tens of thousands of them out there, has somehow maintained a price of around $200, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more than that for the most part. But what this is about is major fraud that was committed, market manipulation, which is it's not unique to what's going on in the rest of the hobby. But yeah, so Pikachu with gray felt hat was manipulated on Card Market, which has been dubbed the European TCG player. What happened was a single person made 200 fake accounts. They bought out the cards, which temporarily took them off of the market and allowed them to sell their listings. In doing so, they were able to overcharge and basically get rid of their inventory by having everything else removed. Now, think about all of the sellers that were affected in this, that basically thought they sold something and then they didn't. Now, it only takes a couple of them to basically come forward. I'm not sure how they figured this out, if they figured this out on their own, if people came forward, if someone kind of pieced things together, talked to other sellers and were like, hey man, someone bought my Pikachu gray felt hat finally, but then they just decided to not pay for it or go through with the transaction. Then another seller maybe was like, yeah man, same thing happened to me. Maybe something happened there. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, absolutely ridiculous. They are now, I think, going after them for, I think, $13,000 of damage. Basically in money that, guys. So this is the mandatory dog barking part of my videos, because the dogs are always barking. Could you get them out of the sunroom, please?
There's a cat outside.
Okay. Awesome. Anyways, I love the Van Gogh Pikachu. I think it is phenomenal. If you like this card too, I would definitely recommend getting it. But it is not surprising to me that this card is being manipulated. There was so much money flowing into the market for this card. It's just crazy that we're still talking about this card even today. But yeah, pretty big deal. And in my opinion, I think it's not unique to what's going on in the hobby in general right now. Right now, we're seeing prices for Paldea Evolved cards skyrocketing, Paradox Rift cards skyrocketing, the Altaria and Paradox Rift, which absolutely love that card, but I don't understand paying a huge premium when there are a surplus of booster boxes abundant out there that you can open and try and pull that card yourself still. It's just crazy that a lot of these cards that really are like $20, $30, $40 cards are skyrocketing, $50, $60, $70, $80 in a short period of months when there's so much supply out there. When in the past, it would have taken years, decades for cards to rise in value like that. There's a lot of hype in this hobby, there's a lot of FOMO going on, and there's certainly market manipulation, which the Van Gogh Pikachu is a perfect example of, but just ties things together with what's going on in the hobby right now. There are so many cards that are skyrocketing in price. One that I want to talk about as well, that I don't think is unique to this either, is the Magikarp. Now, maybe the Magikarp, I always say Magikarp, it's just how I say it, okay, chill. Maybe there's just a chance that it's a very hard card to grade. That might be the case, but I remember when that was like a $30 card, $40 card. I pulled one myself. I've sold a couple that I picked up from my local shop. How in the world has that card become a $600, $700 card? Like, if you graded it yourself, you sold it, my hat's off to you, that's awesome. get your bag, make your money, but at the same time, none of this is making any sense right now. Yes, these arts are beautiful, they're phenomenal, but do they command these kinds of premiums that we're seeing right now in the hobby? I don't know. Definitely want to hear what you guys think about that. The whole modern craze right now with investing in sealed product and singles rising, it's just, it blows my mind right now. I will always appreciate modern, but what I don't appreciate is the manipulation going on and these prices kind of getting out of control for some of these cards. And I think the Magikarp is a perfect example of that, because that card absolutely should not be a $600 or $700 card. And I think you can definitely expect that there's going to be some kind of correction. And I say this with conviction, okay? I believe that there's going to be some kind of correction. Maybe it's not with sealed product, because sealed product seems to be king right now. That seems to be what a lot of people are investing their money into right now, and hoarding that product, myself included. I want to have fun. I want to be a part of it. So I've invested a sizable amount of money into collecting more cases and booster boxes also. But I do that reluctantly, right? I don't necessarily agree with it. I still feel like there's a lot of risk there and a lot of speculation. And I think the same thing is going on with the entire modern market. You know, all of these SIRs that really are not that old are somehow doubling, tripling, and in Magikarp's case, going 10x. You know, I mean, it's wild. Yeah, I'm glad they caught the guy who manipulated this card. You didn't even need to manipulate this card. So many people, when this card came out, when it was released, and they did the collab, there was a mob of people trying to get this card. It was ridiculous, and it was honestly really a dark time for the hobby, I feel like. I feel like that was a point where people were just like, this is ridiculous. Like, this is what people are doing for this Pokemon card that was really supposed to be a part of a museum interaction. And then even when it went on Pokemon Center, there were bots and people basically scalping the crap out of it, getting all the copies, grading them immediately, the race to the bottom, PSA 10, selling for premium. Like, those people didn't even have to manipulate anything. It's just, they got several copies of this card, graded it, and sold it for premium. And a lot of people got burned. People got absolutely burned. I would argue that this card right here burned more people than any other card in the entire hobby because of how hyped up it was, how much FOMO was involved. And I was telling people, do not buy this card for those prices. I still believe that it has to come down. I think 200 is not really an accurate price for this card. It is a very unique card. I think it's very cool. I was lucky enough to get 2 copies. A friend of mine let me know immediately when it was up on there, and thank you for that. You know exactly who you are. You are the reason that I was able to pick these up, because I was doing stuff that morning. I would have completely missed out on that boat, but I would have never bought that card for $200. I think for me, it was like, I think my price range was like $50 to $70 of what I would be willing to buy more of them for. If they ever pop up for that price, I would probably buy them for $50 to $70 if they're still sealed, brand new. It's an iconic, historic card, but screwed so many people over. And that breaks my heart, because that is the exact type of thing that happens in this hobby that makes people leave the hobby and never want to come back. And scamming in general is something that when it happens to you, you take it personally, it's emotional. You do not want to be a part of a hobby that does that to you, right? And it's also about due diligence. Do your due diligence, do your research. There are a ton of these that are fake as well that have circulated the market. So there's a lot of scamming with this card in general, but we can tie that back to what's going on with the market right now with prices being manipulated, right? If a ton of people buy the Magikarp, I cannot get myself to say that right. If a ton of people buy that card at the $600, $700 price range, PSA 10, tons of them get graded down the road. Now, this is just the argument of it's the race to the bottom, okay? The people that are getting the premiums are the ones that are getting 10s first. And as the population of those cards goes up, you know, in terms of the PSA graded population, I'm not going to talk about the other grading companies because I think most people are going with PSA. But as that population increases, the price dumps, okay? And people get left holding the bag. And I'm worried that people are going to get left holding the bag with modern sealed and modern SIRs graded PSA 10 that they're paying a premium. This is also another reason why I have occasionally pointed out that I think buying PSA 9 is okay, because you're not paying this insane premium. You're getting the card, it's graded, it's protected, and it's basically mint. And most of the cards in the Scarlet Violet era, which this could have something to do with the Magikarp being so expensive, the quality control is just not great. We've got print lines, paneling issues, whitening on the edges was a big issue with 151. And I think it's been kind of an issue with a lot of Scarlet Violet sets. Like finding the perfect card has been really, really tough in this era. But I just hope that people don't get burned. I do worry about folks in this hobby, especially the people that are coming in that are new, that don't realize how things work, that don't realize that after a set releases, usually that set becomes cheaper. That after the set releases, the PSA 10 populations are low. That card is priced very high, and those prices usually come down, and those populations usually go up. So, in this hobby, patience has always paid, and for the first time ever, it's not immediate growth, right? But it is scary because people are just jumping in immediately to buy up as much stock as possible and to buy these cards as quickly as possible. Guys, all of this stuff, it's not going anywhere. There's plenty of product. It's not going anywhere. It blows my mind how much people are jumping into buying sealed products. Even myself, I feel like I'm jumping on the bandwagon by adding a large sealed collection to my portfolio. I don't think my portfolio. Anyways, that's just me ranting. The Van Gogh Pikachu has struck again, and it might be old news to some, but I still think it pertains to what's going on in the hobby right now. Cards are just getting really expensive. They're new. The sets have just released. It doesn't really make a lot of sense why they would be jumping in price so much, but you do you. Let me know if you think that some of these cards are just destined to just do numbers, right? Paradox Rift is not old by any means, yet the Altaria is moving up quite a bit in price. I mean, Paldea Evolved has some age to it, but I don't think it justifies the price of cases right now, or the prices of some of the singles. What I will say is, because the singles are getting so expensive, you can understand why the cases are expensive. And if the cases are getting more expensive, you can understand why the singles are more expensive. So that makes sense. In Paldea Evolved, I will say, I love Paldea Evolved. I love the promo. I think it's one of the best promos that we're gonna get in Scarlet and Violet. This little guy right here, especially if it's a Pokemon Center promo. But I never would have imagined. I love the Tyranitar, I love the Raichu, Iono is even pretty cool, even though I'm not into the whole waifu craze. I would have never imagined that these cards would have done these numbers. And there's a part of me that may be a little resentful that people were telling me, like, dude, like, if you're picking up this stuff from shops, like, it's not going anywhere, like, you're not gonna make a lot of money sitting on this stuff. And here I am sitting here thinking about the stacks of illustration cards and SIRs that I used to have that I was picking up from my local shop for dirt cheap. And at that time, I even knew, I was like, these cards feel like they're way too cheap. The Crown Zenith Suicunes, I was picking those up. I had 7 copies at one point, which doesn't seem like much, but to me was a little bit excessive for a card that was cheap and kind of abundant at the time. But I was buying those at $10 a pop. That card's incredible. In my opinion, there are some cards that deserve the hype, and the Crown Zenith Suicune is one of them. I just think it's a beautiful card. I am biased in that sense. But yeah, I'm definitely a little resentful that a lot of these prices have started moving up in a big way. And at this point, things are getting so crazy. I'm like, what's next? Are regular V cards gonna become $5 a pop? Like, I can actually see that at this point. Like, it's getting crazy. There was a time, guys, where illustration arts were $1, $2 at my local shop. They were so cheap, and I should have known better. I should have known that that would be a play. Anyways, I will say, SIRs, alt arts have always been really, really tough to pull, but that's never justified the prices skyrocketing before. So why is this the case now? Anyways, just me ranting. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, but I like to think that I've been watching what's going on for long enough now to see the signs and put things together and just say, this is craziness. Anyways, another update that I'm very upset about. It is what it is. Trying to not be negative, and still I love this card and maybe I'll just settle with it. But I finally got back my first PSA submission ever. You guys can remember I cracked this card to get a speck of dirt off of it. My Crystal Nidoking. I ended up cracking this card because it had a dot of dirt right here. I took it out. I didn't even take my nail. I literally wiped it off with my thumb. And I just thought, why did the person not just wipe the card down? Like with anything, it could have been anything. And they would have gotten that speck off, which annoyed me because I'm super OCD and ADD. Now, if it was an ink dot, which I was thinking it might be, but I could tell based on lighting from the side that it was some kind of piece of dirt. If it was an ink dot, I would have dealt with it. I would have actually probably thought it was pretty cool. And in hindsight, I regret messing with the card at all. The dirt on it, guys, if you ever have dirt on your cards, it's just a light patina on the card, right? It says that it's aged like a fine wine. It is what it is, and you have to appreciate these things sometimes instead of get wigged out like I did and end up taking a large loss. Now, I could probably resub this card and maybe get a 9. I have seen pretty gnarly 9s, but yeah, they ended up, this card was a PSA 9. I actually have the original cert right here. And it wasn't an old cert, guys. Before it was a 9. And it was a 7.4 cert. Okay, you see that? 7.4. That was not long ago, okay? Now it's a 9.2 cert, but they downgraded it to an 8, okay? I did not damage this card, but I found that PSA did damage this card, and I'm not sure whether it was, like, maybe it happened in shipping while it was in a sleeve in a card saver. I doubt it though. I highly doubt it. I had the card wrapped up really nicely. I don't think it was moving around and scratched up, but it's a possibility. It just, in the card saver, it wasn't moving at all. I think, and this is gonna be, what do you call that? Conspiracy, right? You know, people have always talked about pop control at PSA, and I'm sure that might not be the case, but it does make me wonder, was this a pop control thing where my card maybe got downgraded? I know I'm a small fish, and this was just a simple one card sub that I probably shouldn't have done to begin with because it was already a 9. I just really wanted to get the dirt off, and as you guys can see, now there's no dirt on my beautiful Nidoking. Now, there is a slight premium for it being a newer cert. Usually people are willing to pay a premium for a card that's been freshly graded, but it makes me wonder, why did it get an 8? You guys see this card here? It's beautiful. It's in great condition. In fact, that's some kind of speck on there. Yeah, you guys can see the back of the card. Why did it get an 8? Why in the world did it get an 8? In my opinion, they either messed up and gave it an 8, rightfully so for messing it up. I can't see anything from the back there. The back looks as clean as it was when I first bought the card, which I thought that I had a chance at getting a 10 with this card. I never imagined that I was gonna get an 8, and I was warned about this, and I just kind of blew it off because I was like, no, I know this card. This card is beautiful, immaculate. It's gonna do really well. So I'm looking at the scans on PSA, and I see some scratches, which you guys may not be able to see, but these were not here before. I'm going to attempt to show these to you guys. These are on the card, they are not on the slab, and I have confirmed this, but I'm gonna try and show you guys this as best as I can. I don't know if you guys can see. Let's see if we can. But there are some light but prevalent surface scratches over here. There are some surface, there it is, right there. You guys see that? What is that? What did PSA do to my card? Like, I am actually losing my mind over this. What did they do to my card? Look at that. Do you see that? You see the scuffing here? You see the scratch line right here? What the, like, seriously? Yeah, no wonder it got an 8. That wasn't there before. And I actually have photo evidence to prove this. And you know what? I'll just go ahead and pop it in right here so you guys can see that the holo was immaculate. Anyways, I'm pissed off about it. I feel like I was done dirty by PSA. And it's definitely going to hurt any urge I have really to get cards graded when I know the condition of the cards I'm getting graded. I will probably stick to the lucky people that are getting these cards graded and getting them graded in mint condition. I'm even considering buying either another 9 or buying this card in PSA 10. Right now, I still love the card. You know, I don't have to have it in PSA 9 or PSA 10, but I did incur a $300 loss on this card from the value going from a PSA 9 to PSA 8. And some of you may say, well, Orion, you knew the risks. This is just what happens, and I respect that opinion. But I really am looking for sympathy here because this is ridiculous. Like, the card did not have those scratches when I sent it into PSA. I was very cocky that it was going to get a 9. I was even kind of optimistic it might get a 10 because there are so few of them on the market in a 10. Anyways, that's just my rant. Kind of bummed out about it. There have already been some people that I've talked about this card that are actually interested in regrading it. Guys, maybe you could regrade this card, but I would not count on it. I honestly would not count on sending this card back in for a regrade. And what I'll probably end up doing is just keep it for the long term, and it'll be, you know, this card will serve as a reminder to me to never crack a slab over something so trivial, and to not think based on my grading skills that the card is going to be upgraded, because clearly I was wrong. What I might try and do here is sneak this guy in with a friend submission or a group of cards maybe. I don't think it would be wise of me to submit it again myself. But I am fairly confident still that even with the light surface scratches that were put on the card, just so that I could recoup some of that money back, because $300 is no chump change, okay? That's no chump change. Now, there's a chance, you know, the market moves up on some of these cards and my 8 becomes more valuable. Maybe it becomes 600, 700 down the road, way down the road. Like, we're talking maybe a year or two from now. If I just hold on to it and sell it in a different market, I can probably recoup exactly or close to what I had in it. But yeah, I'm really bummed out because I specifically wanted this card to 9 again. I honestly had been holding off. Like, Nidoking is one of my favorite, this Crystal Nidoking in general, but, or specifically, but Nidoking in general is one of my favorite Pokemon. I love Nidoking. He's just a tough Pokemon, just like Aggron, just like Groudon, Tyranitar. I love these tough dinosaur, reptilian, Godzilla-esque Pokemon. They are just awesome, and that's what I am all about. Dragons and dinosaurs and Godzilla and reptiles. That stuff is awesome to me, okay? It's peak to me. That's my favorite kind of artwork. And some would say that might be basic, but that's just what I like, and I know what I like. But yeah, this Nidoking is a tragedy and will serve as a reminder. But you know what? Maybe it was meant to be. It's gonna push me. If this card came back a 9, I would have settled with it and probably never looked for a 10. But right now, guys, if you know anybody with a PSA 10 Nidoking, let me know. I am interested. I am looking to buy, as well as a Gold Star Rayquaza and a PSA 9. I'm looking to buy both of those for a reasonable price. Really, really want a Nidoking and a PSA 10 at this point. I know that Low Popping, which is a really dope seller, I know they have an old cert PSA 10, but it looks like it's scratched up on the back. And if I'm gonna buy a PSA 10, that thing better be clean. So I'm not sure if maybe it's the slab or the card itself. He doesn't actually physically have the card, so he doesn't know. But yeah, guys, please, I've rarely ever asked the community to help me with something. If you know someone with a Nidoking, I'm really not looking for a PSA 9 again for the risk that there may be some flaw that I find. I'm really looking for a PSA 10 this time around. If you know anyone with a PSA 10 Crystal Nidoking that's willing to do a deal with me on that card, please send them my way. Let's make a private deal. Let's make this thing happen. And yeah, that was my shameless plug and my rant on my first submission experience with PSA and how horrible it went. But I also want people to know that, like, not everything is peaches and cream. This stuff does happen, and it's perfectly fine. I knew there was a chance that this could happen, but I felt like it was important enough to share with you guys, just to share my setbacks and my failures as a collector and as someone who probably knows better, just as well as the things that I'm successful at and do well at, and pick up and feel good about. Like my first edition Charizard recently that I'm still processing owning, that I'm over the moon about. I think I got a really good deal for that card. Not an insane deal by any means, but I was able to pick that card up for 19 and one just sold for 22. So the way I see it, some of that cost, I'm just doing a mental backflip that it's incurred into that card instead, and maybe I'll just sell the Nidoking. But first, I would have to find a replacement, and for now, I'm just going to do what most people would probably do and just enjoy the card for what it is. I just wish they didn't do my Nidoking dirty. All right, peace out, guys. Have a fantastic day. Let me know what you think about the whole Van Gogh Pikachu situation. Crazy that even happened, but also not entirely surprising. And then let me know what you think I should do with Nidoking, and let me know if you know anybody, again, that has one in a PSA 10, because vintage is my true love, and I would rather replace this card than start focusing on other stuff. Anyways, peace!